you check the children? Show a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is what
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Bienvenidos, Fright fans, and welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Jaime and Fuego, and so very stoked to be presenting a long overdue, as I all too often mention, Patreon request, which is from the March poll, if I recall correctly. But yes, I mean, in this COVID, sort of situation, it's been very weird with all of us being able to gather and film and so on and so forth. So thank you so graciously for all of your patience, because all of y'all who help us keep the lights on in this proverbial place kick ass. And this is a very strange request, and the fact that it became the poll winner is kind of a head scratcher for me, but not in a bad way, because I believe it's a film that needs discussion. And we are talking about the final directorial effort from John Carpenter. And it's like, do you want to go out in a blaze of glory, or do you want to like fade out and, whimper and whatever? I'm not necessarily saying that this is the case, but The Ward, starring none other than Amber Heard, and that's obviously, with her and Johnny Depp, a whole other, can of worms and such. But yeah, man, it's a drastically different sort of situation, and not a film that I thought was terrible upon the initial viewing, and I saw it in theaters, but I did revisit it recently, and you're seeing that I'm solo because of the fact that, I don't know if it was scheduling, Amber Heard isms or whatever, but so yeah, this takes place in the 60s, if I remember, 60s, 70s. Anyway, it's not a of the day in 2010 when it was properly released, and so she is committed to this asylum after the burning of her house and death of her parents and all this different stuff. Sorry, the itches on the nose. I just got a cat recently, and so it's been messing with nostrils and allergies and all that other stuff. But in any event, yeah, man. So Amber Heard, essentially, think of it this way, in a late 60s girls' asylum is really the best way that we can describe this film. And so there is mistreatment that goes down. There is, lots of other girls that she has kind of friendly interactions with, from a friend standpoint. We're not going into that sapphic sort of, territory, but it's not as bad, I think, as a lot of people make it out to be. All too often, they're like, that's John Carpenter's final directorial effort. Like, what the hell happened? And yet, it's not that compellingly interesting. I mean, we are talking about the guy who did In the Mouth of Madness, who did They Live. I know everybody loves The Thing. I do too. But I point to some of his lesser recognized stuff a lot of the time because I feel like it needs attention. Prince of Darkness, dude. I mean, shit. So in that regard, it's not a bad film, but it feels very much, if I'm giving overall impressions, and that's how we kind of try to segue through things, by the numbers in said regard. It does not feel like it's an inspired piece of work. I mean, honestly, one of the few things that I will say is that Amber Heard is good in this movie, man. I thought she was also good in the Everyone Loves So-and-so, where she's like this femme fatale sort of character. The actual title is eluding me, unfortunately. But, until, it's so difficult to kind of separate personal behavior and how people are perceived, when they're not acting or not on a sports playing field or, whatever it may be. It's tough to distinguish because we have these, out of work sort of impressions that really weigh very heavily. And Amber Heard's performance in this film is not the problem. That's the first thing that I will most definitely, as we segue into acting, just kind of double down upon. Amber Heard is pretty good in this, actually. She's solid. And there is one red-headed girl who is very beautiful, who she kind of strikes up more of a friendship with, if I remember correctly, than some of the others. And so she is good. But then you have, it's very girl-interrupted, like all different essences of mania, which is manifested here. And so, for that reason, it's adept enough in what it's doing, but I feel like this movie came out at a time where we had seen both the horror aspect and the drama aspect beforehand, and so for that reason, it doesn't resonate as much. It's not as captivating. And yes, there is a twist, which I'm not going to spoil and allude to, but it's with the multiple personality sort of situation with one character in particular. And so it's, it is what it is, and I guess that maybe condones some of the crimes of this film. But I mean, biggest thing, well, it's very well shot. Carpenter and his DP do a damn good job of giving us that vibe that entails like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, that entails The Girl Interrupted, like, films that are, just shot in these asylum sort of situations where it's not a character in isolation, like where they have the aspect of interaction, which is interesting. But I mean, this film doesn't do it for me, man. I'm so shocked. I think like more so people wanted to hear our thoughts on it. They're like, is it as vanilla, as boring, or whatever? I mean, does this need to be the swan song of, as he very arrogantly proclaims himself, the horror master on Twitter? He's been hinting at the fact that he wants to direct one more movie, because he's like 70s and like pushing 80, whatever the hell it may be. Please, John Carpenter, direct something besides The Ward, because if that is going to be your final film, it is most definitely that essence of like going out with a whimper, which is not with the amazing catalog of creativity that you were behind. Don't let this be the last, okay? And once again, there's some gore here and there. The kills are, it's really more so than anything else. It's a okay, this character is being like examined in an improper way, and here this happens. It's all cliched writing. This is where, Carpenter writing, or at least assisting in the process, this very strangely feels like he just jumped on the directorial board as opposed to really having any sort of essence in, God, what was being said? All too often, it's like, if there's nothing positive to be said, you don't say anything. Anything at all. So, anyway, yeah, The Ward is not good, but it's not, dare I say, as terrible as a lot of people have made it out to be. Most notably, have to say it, of the Johnny Depp contingent, all of those apologists, because I think they were both terrible people. And so, yeah, whatever. What are you going to say? What are you going to do? And this one is available to rent, I believe, for $3.99 on, like, YouTube and Prime and, Google Play and spots like that. Initially, I had found it for free. Somebody had uploaded it onto YouTube proper, and it was like a low resolution, like SD sort of situation. And for that reason, since I did not remember enjoying the previous film, that's how I watched it. But it didn't really take much away or alter my impressions. I still, even at the time, thought that it was an okay movie. I wasn't like walking out of it like bodies, like this is shit and I hate this movie. But nonetheless, yeah, it is what it is. And unfortunately, Carpenter, the alleged self-proclaimed horror master, I would say Craven personally, but it is what it is. Yeah, this is a last directorial effort for now that he made. So thank you very much for all of the March pollers here in August as I'm filming this. We love you, and we thank you so graciously and kindly for being badasses and sticking with us through just all of the ups and downs, whether it's COVID and Cecil becoming a father, which is rad status, and all of the other things. You're so supremely appreciated. Sometimes these show up on YouTube, other times they just reside in the private section for those of you who want to be a patron, and all of the information is there below. Significantly, yes, it warms our hearts if you are, willing to help us keep those proverbial lights on. And greatly appreciated. And until the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, remember, Fright fans, to stay scared. And yes, check out this film if you are very curious about the entirety of the catalog of John Carpenter, because this is unfortunately kind of a blemish in a lot of ways.